in Esquimalt Police Board public meeting on snowy December 20th. And we are all on Zoom because we wanted to make sure that we weren't a reason the streets and the sidewalks couldn't get plowed. I wanted everybody to be safe as well. So welcome, and I will at this point do the territorial acknowledgement and then turn the meeting over to Charla to introduce our guest speaker. So we are, with respect, we are grateful to be within the traditional territories of the Lekwungen people, the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nation. And we have gratitude for being able to live, work, learn, play on these lands. And we are thankful to them for their stewardship of these lands from time immemorial. Charla, please introduce our guest speaker.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And a big appreciation and thank you to Carol Todd, who is joining us here today. You've probably seen Carol's face amongst all of the community service work that she has been doing. She's the mother of the late Amanda Todd, and since Amanda's death, Carol has been working so diligently and with all of her might to bring awareness and justice to sextortion, cyberbullying, and as an advocate for mental health. Carol's been recognized provincially and nationally for the work that she's done. And one thing that we here at the board, I'm the HR committee chair, and we have strategic goals of our board to accomplish. And so one of our HR committee goals is to educate ourselves and to advocate for better health supports for people with mental health, as well as people with substance use issues. So Carol's here today to help us with this goal. And part of this is we want to invite people from our community to help educate our board. And so without further ado, I just wanted to pass it on to Carol to give us a brief history of this, the story, and I'm sure she's told it many times, but hearing it from a mother, I think that we can't do it justice any other way.
Thanks, Charla, for inviting me, and welcome everybody. I'm in Vancouver, and all of you are probably in Victoria, but we share the same snow. Amanda's story, it's taken a life of its own. One of Charla's questions was, what have I missed in the introduction? And one of the pieces is not only am I the mother of Amanda Todd, which when I'm grocery shopping, people come up to me and that's the first question. Are you the mother of Amanda? So I am known as that. I'm also an educator in the Coquitlam School District. I'm a teacher coordinator, and one of my portfolios is online safety. So the topic and advocacy that I do with Amanda's legacy is also something that is near and dear to me in my profession as an educator, and I've been doing that for teaching for about 38 years. So as you all know, Amanda passed away on October the 10th of 2012. It's been 10 years since her death. And initially her death was bullying and cyberbullying. And we knew about the offender, but that sort of went quiet. And then in April of 2014, we found out that someone had been arrested that had offended Amanda online. And now what we know as exploitation and sextortion. This past summer, June until August, June 6th, and the trial ended on August 6th. It was a very long 9-week trial, which myself, as Amanda's mom, I was dedicated. I I felt very strongly that I had to be in court every day. I was able to see the offender each and every day. I didn't miss a day of court. I was there along with the jurors, and heard every detail of the things that happened to Amanda. And so she was victimized from 2009, when she was 13, all the way to 2012. I think it was even before we even knew what online exploitation and sextortion was. To hear the guilty verdict in court on August 6th was, I think my heart jumped out of my chest when I heard the 5 guilties, only because I had some reasonable doubt because of jurisdictional issues, and some of the evidence presented was really confusing. And I lived it along with my daughter, but the jurors didn't. And so it was always my fear that it was so complex that it wouldn't be understood properly. Luckily, prosecution explained it very graphically in their PowerPoint, that it was understood. Ironically, not ironically, but I did have a chance to chat with a juror after, and she said that the evidence presented was a lot for them. We're talking 2 banker boxes full of binders, full of information and data and evidence, and not something that your typical average human being would ever think that they would have to go through.
I think too, I think it's really good that you've mentioned the jurisdiction piece. And I know, being on the board of the Victoria Esquimalt Police Board, and we've heard about the challenges of cyber crimes and jurisdiction, and also how the bad actors, they can be anonymous. They can be anonymous with their names, and also where they are. And then when there are perpetrators, that jurisdictional difference can make it hard to move forward. And so here on this call, we have our police board, we have the senior leadership of the police department, as well as members of the public. And when Amanda had come to you and you were trying to get some help, what are those challenges that you felt and your family with the jurisdiction and the anonymity of the criminals?
It was mostly anonymity, because we had no idea who was doing this, where it was coming from. Aidan Caban had 22 aliases just for Amanda. And also, I have to say that, he also had, there was a trial in the Netherlands in 2017 where there were 34 other young victims, right? So he had multiple aliases that he used. And that is complex of where to find the evidence, where to start. And after Aidan Caban had released Amanda's image, it was reported to the RCMP, and we had a meeting with them. And every time that something happened, we re-reported it. And unfortunately, the answers back then that I got was the IP addresses showing that it's international and we can't do anything about this. It's too hard to find. He's hiding under a VPN. If I knew then what I know now, I would have been more adamant and shown probably more strength in pursuing this matter. But I believed the police at that time that they couldn't do anything. What I found during the trial broke my heart, that because they couldn't do anything, they closed the file in November of 2011. That was a year before her death. Fast forwarding to 10 years now, sextortion, exploitation, and the mental health repercussions, we know more about it. We know that IP addresses can be located even if there is a VPN. We know that there is more out there. There was a case in the United States, and I met the mom in the summer, and her son was sextorted to death within hours of being threatened for money. And just this week, they located the predator, and he was part of an African Nigerian ring to exploit young children. So there is a very big need that we need to step up our game and educate parents, kids, educate our law enforcement about all these different areas of exploitation, because it's happening, and it's happening more and more. 10 years ago, when we didn't know about it, and media and use of technology was, I would say, for lack of a better word, weaker, because Amanda was offended on social media platforms like Facebook, and Instagram wasn't even around. And there was MySpace, and there was MSN Messenger. Now, when you look in 2022, look how many platforms there are now that our youth use on a daily basis for hours and hours and hours. We are responsible for educating our kids how to use their devices. And we are responsible for educating our parents on how our kids use their devices.
And then us as a board, and we're a governance board, so what do you think as a board in a governance role, how could we help support this? And again, the same question for our police leadership. And I think you've covered the public, but for us to know from you as a board, what can we do, or what do you think we should be doing? And how can police leadership also, if there's anything you think that they can learn from this as well?
I think the best way for me to share this is because when I saw your question, I got on my computer and I started writing, and I have about 20 bullet points, but I'm going to read them quite quickly. Okay, I didn't want to forget any. So, and they're all in my scrambled brain, so not in any direct order. So, community engagement. We need to keep educated about CSAM, child sexual abuse material. We need to educate ourselves about the first and ongoing exposures to pornography. And the average age now of children first witnessing pornography is between 8 and 11. And so 8 and 11, you think of down the road, what they're exposed to and how it affects their brain. Online social media use by our children, video gaming, internet trends, digital devices, who our kids are talking to online. We don't use the word stranger anymore, because basically online, most people are strangers. And so we can't say to our kids, don't talk to strangers for that reason. So it's people who you don't know in real life. We need to keep talking about these topics. Oftentimes I see that there's presentations in different communities, and it's a once a year thing. And so it has to be something, and I know this as an educator, that we need to talk about 52 weeks a year, right? In our schools, in the community, to our parents, to our teachers, to law enforcement, to better train, to better educate, and to better advocate and support when things go bad. There needs to be increased training and guidance in the areas of exploitation and extortion, with an S, sextortion, because this is don't want to say it's a new issue. It's just an issue that's come to the surface head right now. I have seen multiple press releases from the RCMP and from various police departments about the rate of sextortion rising in their community. And so with that, we need to talk about it more. We can't, it's like mental health 10 years ago, we didn't talk about that. We need to talk about sextortion and exploitation, but not in a way that's going to scare people, We need to talk about it in a way that's going to educate and make them want to learn more about it. Our BC Ministry of Education and Childcare has a BC Digital Literacy Framework that has six goals and a lot of sub goals in it. And so every teacher in BC has this in front of them and it's about online safety, how to use technology, financial literacy, media literacy. It's maybe something that the police board needs to look at and see what our kids are learning in school so that you can correspond what your teachings and understanding is at your level. I believe that law enforcement, education, public health need to work, and public safety need to work together in order to make a dent in our knowledge and acknowledgement. Knowledge of the criminal code and legal processes. Police, and if there's a complainant to the police about someone being exploited or sextorted, please don't give up on that complaint and tell your members that. There are parts where we felt, Amanda and myself, we felt we were given up on because it's a serious matter. And these exploiters are often very smart. And they threaten and harass the victim into silence. And we know what silence happens. Provide improved supports to victims and their family when doing presentations. Present to students and the community, parents and kids, but don't make it so fearful that you go to the nth degree, because kids, if they get their devices taken away, they'll find another device, and then you'll never know what they're doing. I don't know if Victoria still has school resource officers. I know of one community in the Lower Mainland that has them, that goes out to the schools and they have conversations all the time, because kids need to be not fearful of the police. They need to know that the police are there to help and support them. Presentations also need to be age appropriate, and you need to have more than one. You need to present to, you need to gather the police, public health, school district PACs, parent advisory councils, and community leaders, so that our community and parents know that we're all on the same page, that we are doing this for community's sake, not just because we want to. There needs to be adequate funding for community presentations. Parents want resources. Unfortunately, my story is a real life story, but it definitely hits hard when I share it. Because it happened in my family. And I was probably one of those parents that said, this will never happen in my family, but it did. And I've talked to others who have said the same thing, who have lost their children to suicide and mental health. But also I've met parents who've had their children exploited online also. Include the parents and students in plan presentations or community discussions. Use the BC Ministry of Education and Childcare Erase program to support your awareness and teachings. Use Safer Schools Together to have presentations within your community on threat assessment and digital media. Have your resources online. Include victim services and first responders and community policing in your awareness and education. Think of ways to engage and to have the community participate, to feel like they're a part of solving the problem. Oh, I went through that.
Well, thank you very much. And I know we could talk to you forever. So I'm going to open the floor briefly for any questions or comments, and just letting our board members and police leadership know that we do have a small amount of time. So if you have a question or a comment, try your best to make it succinct.
The other thing we could do, if there are more questions, is put them in the chat, and we'll be able to maybe get them over to you and
Sure.
answer them. So we have the chief, and then Bella.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair. Carol, I just wanted to say, first off, just what a heartbreaking story for Amanda. I did want to let you know that I did go on Amanda Todd's Legacy Society webpage. I learned a little bit more about Amanda, and it is just, it's so heartwarming to see what you're doing with the tragedy that your family had to overcome. And so the fact that you are playing an advocacy role and increasing the awareness around exploitation, sextortion, and the challenges that we see even more today than even when Amanda was growing up are incredible. I wanted to just let you know, as Chief of the Victoria Police Department, through support of our board, we actually are going to be moving ahead with expanding our current capacity and awareness and training around cybercrime and around online offenses. So this is done through the board. We're actually dedicating a position that we're going to expand on in this area that is so important to you. And so I just wanted to share that with you. So again, thank you for coming on and for having the courage to share Amanda's story with us.
Thank you for letting me know that. That's really great. And you know, I've spoken all the way to Ottawa to talk about cyber crimes and offenses against women and children in the cyber world too. So this is wonderful news. Thank you for doing that. And if I can be any part of that, any part of any planning or questions, please include me.
Ella?
I just wanted to echo what the chief was saying with thank you. I was in school when Amanda Todd passed away, and I remember being in assembly where we talked about everything, and your daughter's story definitely lived on through all of us in school, and I think she definitely saved a lot of other lives growing up. So just thank you for continuing your advocacy, and her legacy for sure lives on, and I appreciate you coming and continuing to speak to us today. I'm really excited about what the chief is saying about having more in-depth cyber units and everything. So thank you again for joining us, and it's just a real privilege to get to speak to you today.
Thank you. And something else that I find really heartwarming is that Amanda's stories in criminology books. So at SFU and UBC, I just talked to a bunch of crim students and a professor, and this is a really important piece of learning for our future police officers and our future law students also, right? Because they're going to have to deal with in the court system. And so that's a whole new matter, dealing with this in the court system, right? I feel like I've gone through A to Z in this whole process. So
Carol, thank you so much for attending today and providing us with this. I'm hopeful that you would share your list with Charla, just in case we didn't get it all down, so that we can further the conversation at the board table and follow up with your suggestions. And
thank you.
Thank you again. As someone else who's lost their daughter, but not in the same way as you, it's a real challenge, and my heart goes out to you. But you are amazing. You're doing great work, and her legacy will live on, and many people are learning by it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, board. I'll go back to the agenda and just again, is there anyone who has a conflict of interest or feels they might have a conflict of interest? All right, I don't see anyone. We'll move down. I need a motion to adopt the public agenda, please. Bella and Michaela, thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. And we have the public minutes of November 15th. If I could get a motion to adopt those. Michaela, thank you. And seconder, Charla. Is there any errors, omissions, or changes? All right, seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. Motion's carried. We'll come down to the Chief Constable's update. Chief? And do you want to
Perfect,
do the equity, diversity and inclusion engagement update as well?
Sure, I'll do that. So thank you,
Thank
Chair,
you.
for that. So if you go to page 4 of the public package, you'll see my submission. I'll just cover a couple highlights. Being that time of year, Vic PD had an entry in the Victoria Santa Claus Parade, so we were there with Mayor Alto, and also the Esquimalt Celebration of Lights Parade with Mayor Desjardins. So again, both well-attended community events, and it was great to see Vic PD have an entry in both of the local parades. A couple other things I wanted to highlight is I participated in a couple of podcasts. One was with Our Place Society, just speaking to the challenges of policing, and a similar one with the Greater Victoria Chamber as well. And also I had a chance to reconnect with Julian Daly, who's the Executive Director of Our Place Society. And we're really putting our heads together to discuss some of the ongoing street challenges that we continue to see. The level of mental health and drug addiction on our streets, and specifically in the 900 block of Pandora. And just discussing strategies in the new year about how we can tackle some of these really complex issues and work with the city. And I know I've had some discussions with Mayor Alto on this very topic as well. So I'll leave my actual written update to that. The other Chief's Constable's update I wanted to just share with the board and our community is you may or may not have seen the news release that we did regarding the retail theft project. So Vic PD, under the leadership of Inspector Carolee Jones from our Community Services Division, came up with a bit of a team, and we did a 3-day project, or the team did a 3-day retail theft project, really targeting prolific property offenders in and around the Christmas season. So here in 3 days, the results were quite staggering. Not really surprising, but we ended up with 17 arrests. There were 2 individuals found to be breaching their release orders. In those 17 arrests, we found individuals that were possessing knives, airsoft pistols, and bear spray, and approximately $5,000 worth of merchandise was recovered and returned to the retail outlets. Safe to say that the businesses in and around the area where we conducted our project were extremely pleased with the Victoria Police Department in knowing that we were there supporting them, and kind of heightening some of the awareness around the prolific thefts that are occurring in and around many businesses. And the last update I just wanted to provide is we have an ongoing investigation into the teen that was sexually assaulted at Topaz Park. So this was a youth that between 9 and 10 a.m. on Tuesday, December the 6th, was crossing through Topaz Park. She was stopped by 2 men and who then sexually assaulted her. She was able, luckily, to break free and to get to a safe location where she informed a responsible adult, and Vic PD were notified. So this is an ongoing investigation, and just speaks to some of the challenges that we're seeing in some of our parks and those that are occupying public spaces. And so again, it's a work in progress, and we're doing everything we can and working with city bylaw on some of these issues and making sure that we're addressing the social disorder, the crime, and making sure that everyone feels safe. So that's the update that I have. And Mayor, if you're okay with it, I'll just continue to item F, which is the EDI update. If that's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So that's on page 5. And just two updates I wanted to just offer. The first one is the Victoria Police Department has partnered with the Aboriginal Coalition to End Homelessness on their new Indigenous Justice Program. And so we've got a long-standing relationship with the coalition, and we continue to work with them on new funding that they've received. And I was able to attend the initial meeting for the new Indigenous Justice Program that they're going to be undertaking over the next number of years. And the last update is I've been touching base with the Muslim community at the masjid on Quadra Street. And so I touched base with the chair, and I'm going to be appearing before their joint board in January. They're in a transition phase right now where their imam, Ismail Muhammad Nur, is no longer the imam at the masjid. And so they're just getting a new imam identified. And when they're going to do that, they're going to invite the Victoria Police Department after their future board meeting for engagement session, just talking about community safety and also building relationships with our Muslim community. And I'll certainly keep the board apprised in January when I have those discussions. That's my update. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And are there any questions for the chief? It's been a busy season. All right, I don't see any. Thank you, chief. We'll move on to committees updates. And I will look to Charla for HR update.
Yes, thank you. So we have a motion for this meeting from the HR committee, and that is the board pay $350 to cover the cost and shipping of the awards for the new BCAPB awards program. I've mentioned this a few times, so I'm really excited that this has come to fruition. The 3 awards that BCAPB, which is the BC Association of Police Boards, is launching these provincially, where the board rep of each municipal police board will take on that stick handling piece, which in this situation would be myself, and Michaela is my alternate. And the awards are community driven recognition award, and that's where someone from the community can then nominate someone from Vic PD, an employee or staff who has done good work or impacted someone. There's supporting our governance award, and that is where the board will award it to a person or a department for assistance and good work in supporting governance, as well as an excellence and innovation award. That is also given by the police board to a person or a department or a specific initiative within the department. And for BCAPB, which is a small organization, to the $350 will help cover the awards and just those costs, and everything else will be just done because it's important.
Thank you. So you've put the motion on the floor. Is there a seconder to that motion? Michaela, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? None opposed, motion's carried. I'll go back to governance. Sean, any updates for, we have your report, but do you want to add anything to your report?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, no motions this time around. However, I'll speak about the police board training that the government has created for police boards across British Columbia. Essentially 3 modules, foundations, a primer of foundations 101 and a 201 course. And it's something like some members of our board have already taken or in the process of completing, and as time goes on 2023 we'll hopefully have some more updates, and essentially it is for members of the public, essentially a police board focused training module, or professional training if you will, for police board members across BC, and it's something the government been working on for a number of years. And we're really happy to see that is implemented, and of course we will be providing feedback to them as we go through the course, and hopefully they'll be able to provide more opportunities like this for all members of who join police boards, because at the end of the day we are volunteers, and of course we all have different backgrounds and different experiences. These modules will help us be all more or less on the same page, and also give us a very heightened awareness of certain issues and matters that we can help us remain focused on providing public oversight. But otherwise, that's all we have for governance this month. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Does anyone wish to add anything or ask a question of Sean? All right, seeing none, we'll go down to finance. Doug.
And thank you, Chair. I have 4 items which consume most of the pages, I think, in this report. And rather than my attempting to go through these items, I'd like to, with permission, call on Mr. Hercombe to give the highlights of each of the items, and then we can entertain any questions. Thank you. Over to
Great.
Steve.
Sure. So I think the first one we have was the overtime. Sorry, I don't have a copy in front of me here, so let me know if I miss anything. So on the overtime, overtime is over budget for the year. This is a monthly report. This isn't really a surprise. We ran short on staff for much of the year, and that was a big driver behind the overtime overages. We also had an additional overtime that was unexpected for the Queen's funeral, and also for as a result of the BMO shooting. So we were above normal up till August. We now appear to be settling down to normal levels as additional experienced police officers have been onboarded. So we're starting to see those numbers normalize now. Going into the new year, we should be in a much better position. Obviously, there are some retirements that happen early in the year, but we are definitely stronger position than we were last year. The package also includes some additional information on time loss from sick and WorkSafe, as well as on employee turnover. You'll see WorkSafe claims have risen again this year. We're not sure if this is temporary because of the shooting or if there's another increase in our long-term trends, but we'll just have to see how that goes. Also, employee turnover, you'll see, has been high in the last 5 years. Retirements are mostly driven by demographics, and we expect this to continue for a few more years. Resignations have also been trending higher, which seems to be a common experience in the job market generally. So not really just being experienced by ourselves, but other organizations as well. On the monthly financial report, you'll see we're still slightly over budget, mostly due to unfunded retirement expenditures. So the big cost drivers right now is unfunded retirements, non-recoverable overtime, which we just talked about. Also, we had building janitorial, where we're maintaining the same level of janitorial services throughout COVID, as we found that very beneficial, and we've asked to include that in the budget for 2023. We had some unexpected increases in software licensing that also was reflected in the 2023 budget, and we had some unexpected protective equipment expenditures this year. Areas that were under budget, significantly under budget, salaries and benefits due to vacant positions, and the communications due to a reduction of our costs for the press radio system. The other report I have in there is a financial forecast, still trending towards a minor deficit, although not as bad as earlier predicted. This is mostly due to the retirement expenditures, which can be charged against the liability. So if the deficit doesn't exceed the unfunded retirement, we won't need to dip into the financial stability reserve or reduce capital reserve transfers. It's difficult to predict with absolute accuracy, as the expected deficit is proportionally small, and there are a number of entries at year end for payroll accruals, et cetera, that can change the bottom line. And I expect to have those final numbers sometime in February, as we're working on year end currently.
Thanks very much, Steve. Doug, anything further to add?
I have nothing further to add unless there's any questions from the board.
Board? It's good to see the deficit coming down, so keep up the great work. Only a few more days. Thanks so much, Doug. Thank you, Steve. All right, we'll move on, and the board co-chairs update. So I had a meeting with David Pillings, and we talked about the courses, the education courses that Sean spoke to. I talked about our strategic planning session and whether there was, someone out there that could help facilitate that other boards have used. We heard a bit of information about how the special report is being worked on. Interesting that Mr. Pillings did ask the question about mayors as chairs, and as this board was the one that put forward that we felt that mayors should not be the chairs of boards, I filled him in on my thoughts on that. And I guess the one other part to the report is that both Mayor Alto and myself attended the cabinet appointments at Government House. And I was pleased to see Minister Farnsworth continue. So it's always nice when you have continuity. I will turn it over to Mayor Alto for any additional comments.
Thanks, Mayor Desjardins, and I won't repeat anything that you said, with which I agree. I'll just say that it's been my pleasure to be part of the board so far. I'm learning a lot. I have started off in one of the training programs that was referred to earlier and found it extremely helpful. And so I look forward to participating a bit more robustly and to reporting next time on some of the ongoing meetings that I'm having as well with some of the provincial ministers and their interest in our work. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Any other questions on our report? All right, seeing none, we move down to BC Association of Police Board Directors update, and that's Charla.
Aside from our awards that I've mentioned too, I think that we are slowing down for the holidays, and in the new year, I should have a more robust update.
All right, thank you. Next up is the board member engagement update. And I'd like to just go around the squares here. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to something that they've done, community engagement?
Hi, Barb. It was a few weeks back, but I was really pleased to attend the volunteer and reserves dinner. Thank you dinner for Vic PD. It was a great time. I had a lot of fun with Sean and Mayor Alto. A huge thank you to all of the reserve constables and to the volunteers that keep the organization going. They're absolutely amazing, and it was so fun to get to be with them. Sorry I missed the dancing, but I'm sure it was great.
Thank you, Bella, for bringing that up. Yeah, that was unfortunate. I wasn't able to attend, but that is a great event, and those people are gold.
Yes, they really are. Thanks for that, Bella. I
Yeah.
did have a chance to attend and made a few remarks on behalf of the board, and they really are an incredible group of people. And I think, as I mentioned there, you just don't see how much work is put in by the volunteer corps that supports the department in its whole. And so any opportunity to thank them is certainly welcome. Thanks for doing that.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on. And of course, always on the agenda, we have our board strategic priorities. I don't know that anyone wishes to speak to them. I will again say that we will be doing another planning update in the new year. And so we'll be able to perhaps add or coalesce some of those ongoing things that we're working on. All right. And of course, the framework agreement always is top of mind on the board agenda. We'll move down to new business, and it's the Vic PD roadmap for a healthy and inclusive workplace. Chief, if you'd like to outline that.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you, Chair. So the board's well aware, every number of months, I bring back the roadmap with an update for the board. And so I'm quite pleased with the progress that we're making. The roadmap is divided into three main headings. One is mental health and wellness. The second is equity, diversity, and inclusion. And the third one is just general category of leadership / communication. Again, we're making progress, some more than others, and some of the goals and initiatives that we have under each of those three main areas that I mentioned. I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Thanks. Anyone? Questions of the chief? It's quite a comprehensive roadmap. So, Chief, I guess my question is, how do we measure that we've achieved things?
Yeah, so the board did ask that when we first put the roadmap together. And so I think there has to be qualitative and quantitative analysis. And I believe that, do we have that? Some of that on here, we might not have on this particular version. But I know that we put some measures in place about how we would measure what the expected outcomes are. We actually put them. You can see the expected outcomes. I'm just looking at them that are kind of shaded underneath mental health and wellness under the three main areas, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and also under leadership. So we actually put some expected outcomes. Some are qualitative, some are quantitative.
Thank you. And is there a sense that we'll go back to the membership and do another survey within a certain time frame to get their feedback on all of these changes that we've done and the work that's been done on the roadmap?
Yeah, I think that's one option to consider. But I think right now what we're focused on is trying to achieve the goals and further some of the initiatives that we currently have. I certainly think that that was something that we had discussed with the board maybe down the road where the time is right, where we think that that might be a proper measure. But right now, what we're just focusing on is, we've got a committee that meets, a working group that we've got put together that meets on a regular basis. Our senior leadership is actively engaged in furthering these recommendations. This is a living document. So we have discussed either adding new items to this or even a new heading if we feel that that helps and assists us in having a more inclusive and respectful workplace at Vic PD.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? All right, I think we're all snow dayed out here. I'm going to move on, and the next item on the agenda is the EDI anti-racism training for council and municipal leaders. I'm wondering if there is anyone, of course, this is a $600 cost. And Colette, do we have budget for anyone to attend this?
Yes, there's still money left this year for anyone to attend.
All right. I'm certainly interested in attending. Is there anyone else that, oh, Charlotte?
I would be interested in attending as.
All right. Okay. We will, the two of us will, and we'll report back to you. And if anyone else comes up with interest in it, let us know. Next up is the KCOL conference course attendees. What is the interest in that? And I'm sorry, I've got to go back and forth here. So just give me half a second. All right, and this is in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I tried to look up the agenda and I wasn't able to. Okay, I've got Colette with her hand up.
Yeah, the agenda hasn't been posted yet, so there's no information about the registration, including the cost. But a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, it was about $800 for early bird and $1,000 afterwards. And that would have to come out of next year's training budget.
Okay, so given that there are opportunities each year and given the costs for these, I think we need to be cautious of how many we send. But that being said, I have found this to be a very interesting conference. Charlotte.
I did want to add, and this shouldn't necessarily be a factor in determining, but just a reminder as well, that the BCAPB conference this year is going to be held in Nelson, which will also add expenses to those travel costs. So when we're deciding this, I just wanted to note that as well. Yeah,
and BCAPB is probably the greater priority. Michaela.
I definitely want to go. I would also attend virtually if going is not an option. I've attended virtually for the past 2 years and loved it. And I really regret not pushing to attend in person last year. Even though it was held locally, it was just sort of a fly suggestion that everyone attend virtually. And I agreed to that. And I really regret it. And also, I'm just really sorry. I'm hiding in my bedroom from a puppy and children and Zoom cooking classes that my husband is teaching in our kitchen. So I'm like in the corner of the house. I've been on the floor, actually, really hiding for a while from the dog. So sorry for my appearance, but I would love to go if there's an opportunity to. I do also love the BC APB conference. I'm super conference happy. So I'm always going to put my hand up when I can. But I think KCOL is fantastic. I found it to be really enlightening for the past 2 years. And so if there is an opportunity to attend and it can work out, I would love to do that.
All right, thank you. And I think we'll keep track of that. And when Colette has more detail for us, we'll make some decisions. Sean, you had your hand up?
Yeah, it's always I'm also interested in, but I'm also interested in the virtual for myself personally, only because just to be a busy year. But that being said, those who can go in person, I recommend they have the opportunity to do so, because I think, as we all know, there's a lot more value in making those connections and having those opportunities to meet with people, and making the networks that and at the end of the day, these are people just like us across the country that are having greater challenges and wants to better the community. So if anybody can go in person, I would be supportive of whoever wishes to do so. And I hope the board will be supportive of that. Thank you.
Great. Chief, you have your hand up?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to remind board members, Charlotte commented that the BCAPB meeting is in Nelson. It's literally back to back from the KCOL conference. So I just wanted to say that the BCAPB meeting concludes on Saturday the 27th. And so if people were wanting to attend at Halifax, Nova Scotia, they would be flying the very next day. So just a consideration. It can be done, but they're literally back to back. Thank you.
Great. Michaela? You're on mute.
I have checked and you can make it from Nelson. And I also just want to flag, because I did ask about this, that the CAPG conference this year is in August, and it's in, I think, St. John's or St. Andrews by the Sea. And I think that when I attended the CAPG conference virtually and I saw so many of the board members there, it's when it really flagged to me that we should be sending people when we can and when there's interest. And that is not, I'm not saying that because I have lots of interest. There's lots of people on the board who have a lot to offer. But I really felt like at that conference, when I watched the CAPG one, there was so much that people were getting from it that the virtual attendees weren't, because we were just not part of it in the same way. So I have been meaning to email Colette with that information too, just because I wrote them a long time ago and asked about when it would be this year. So just so that we have that on the radar too, that there's another one that's really far out east, that if we can send somebody to attend who wants to go, we should.
Colette, any idea of the date? I know last time there wasn't anything solid yet.
Not that I'm aware of yet, but I haven't checked recently.
Okay.
Thanks I have it. I can just look it up, I think, or send it to Colette. I did save it somewhere. It's the 14th of August, 14th to 19th of August.
Great, thanks. All right, anything further on this one? Seeing none, we'll move on. And we have correspondence, which is the OIC reappointment of board member Huber. We are so pleased to have you continue, Charla, and the work that you're doing both at our board and at BCAPB is extremely valuable, both for our board and for our organization. So thank you, and we're glad you're reappointed. We have the letter from the JIBC on a tuition increase. I don't know, Chief, do you want to say anything to that? How does it affect budget?
Well, I mean, this is just an ongoing increase that we see. I mean, it's a short-term fix. It does impact budget, but I believe Mr. Hercombe's taken that into consideration, knowing that these increases are coming through some of the pressures that we see. The bigger issue, I think, for the board is how do we address the ongoing challenges about sustainability around costs and the fact that the police services did not continue to fund what they said they would up until the next calendar year. And there's a significant shortfall that the police academy has been facing. And so, but those are ongoing discussions I know that this board is well aware of.
Yeah, and there's been no change in the position.
That's correct. Yeah, the BC Municipal Chiefs of Police wrote a letter to the minister asking if the minister would reconsider government's position on that, that they are rescinding their funding for the police academy 1 year earlier than they said they would in their letter. And the minister wrote back and is not willing to reconsider his decision. So that budget shortfall now gets downloaded to all the municipal police agencies in the province.
Thanks. Anyone wish to ask any questions or make any comments on this one? It's basically correspondence. Jason, did you have your hand up? Deputy? No. Okay, and the last item is correspondence, and I believe Mayor Alto also received a similar letter, which is basically our post-election mandate letter from police services. So that comes to the end of our agenda. Is there anything anyone wishes to speak to at this point? All right, I want to thank you all for being so flexible as to make this quick change to online Zoom meeting tonight. I want to wish you all the very best for the holiday season. Be safe. I hope it'll be a happy holiday for you. Please remember there are so many out there that are maybe a bit more challenged at this time of year, and we don't walk in each other's shoes enough to know what might be going on at any time. So everybody take care. Wish you all the best. Put your roller skates on for the new year. Take
Thanks,
care.
everyone.